Alright, welcome to the Chapter 8 Learning Target number 4 video. Now, just so you guys know right now, if any of you do use your textbook to study or the online text or any of the online resources that we have, we actually kind of merged two chapters. The first two, these three right here, if it'd let me write, the first three learning targets, they were all Chapter 8, okay? Chapter 8. For the first three learning targets, so that would include all the inequalities and equation stuff. Okay. Anything from here on out, though, is actually Chapter 10. So if you want to write Chapter 10 next to some of these learning targets, you can. Or, I mean, you don't have to. It doesn't matter. If you don't use those resources, it's fine. I mean, I don't really expect you to because you have your notes and we have videos, so it's not like you have to use those things. But it is, we did kind of merge two chapters together. Chapter 6. Okay, so we're going to do learning target 4. Now this should go pretty quick. It's calculate the area of a triangle and explain its meaning. So go ahead and flip to, I don't know what this page is because all the page numbers are all crazy. But you guys can figure it. It's the one where you see the big triangle and the learning target's up there, so you should be able to figure it out. Okay. The first thing I want to show you here is, guys, you know, all area is, and I've tried to show you this throughout review sheets this year, guys. But area is just the amount of squares, 1 by 1 squares specifically, that are in an area. Okay. Let me show you what I mean. Okay. If I were to draw a rectangle like this, okay, there's my rectangle. Okay, it's terrible, I know. Okay, I know that this has a height of 1, 2. And it has a base of 3, okay? Which you guys know how to find the area of a parallelogram, which a rectangle is a type of parallelogram. It's base times height. A lot of times you'll see me write it like this, just area equals, BH, like that, okay? That just means base times height because two variables touching also means multiplication, okay? But you guys do that and you would get that area equals 2 times 3, okay, which is 6 units squared. Okay. Now, again, you can see where this comes from. There's 1 square, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's what it means. It means when you find the area, and I'm going to ask you this 100 times over the next couple weeks. You're going to get sick of hearing it. But when you find area, that's what you're asking. It's not about, okay, I know this is 200 square feet right here. Yeah, that's the answer. Okay, but what square feet really is it's saying how many 1 by 1 squares are in an area. And that can be 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, 1 foot by 1 foot, 1 mile by 1 mile. It just depends on the unit that you're using. Okay, it doesn't matter, but that's what area is. Okay, so as I look up here to this problem, if I ever give you a grid like this, first of all, you can always just count the squares realistically. I mean, now I'm going to make you guys show me the formula, but that's where the formula derives from because this is the way it is. Like, for instance, you can't really see these lines, but I'm going to put them in here. Okay, didn't want to bore you with all me making those lines, but you can see them a lot better on your copy, I'm pretty sure. I hope anyway. But what it means is you could literally go through and just count these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there are 4 rows of 6, which you guys all know multiplication. You take the number of squares in each row and multiply them by the number of rows. You know that the area here is 24 feet squared. Okay, and that's kind of where this is exactly where the area formula for a triangle derives from. Now the word derives, guys, I might use that over the next few weeks. Derives just means comes from. Okay. The formula for a triangle, which some of you might know as base times height divided by 2. You might know this, that it's this, base times height divided by 2. Oh, come on, pen. Or you might have seen it like this, which is the way I'm going to show it. 1/2 the base times height, or 1/2 base times height. Okay, it's the same thing. You guys know that dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by half. Remember, if I did 4 divided by 2, it's 2. And we all know that the Division is just multiplication by the divisors, the second number, reciprocal, which is 1/2. 4 times 1 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. We know that 4 divided by 2 is 2. So that multiplying by half is the same as dividing by 2. Okay, it's the same thing. So that's why these formulas are the same. It doesn't matter whether you do the divide by 2 at the end. You can do 1/2 times the base, take half the base times the height. You can take half the height times the base. It doesn't matter. You will see. Does not matter, okay? So that's where this comes from. And what a triangle is any triangle can be made into a rectangle, okay, or a parallelogram, I should say. Any one of them, okay? So you take it and you find a triangle. All you got to do is double it, and you can find your rectangle that would create, okay? So here, I know that there are 24 squares, so if I take and split this shape right in half, I now know that the area of the blue triangle here, I know that it's 12 feet squared, a unit squared, or whatever you want to use. Okay, there's no units here. Okay, I knew it was 12 because I know that 12 is half of 24. Okay, that's where the formula comes from. Okay, you can see there's what I'm talking about. And it's hard to count slivers of squares. That's what makes it kind of difficult, but that's where it comes from. Okay, and there you can see that they're both the same. Okay. All right. So the area of the yellow triangle is half the area of the rectangle. We just talked about that. So pretty basic. So right here is your formula. Now, I need everybody to write this little note here because this is about as important as it gets. I need you to write it. I'll check when I'm going over these to make sure you guys wrote this, because some of you are going to mess this up. The base and height of any figure always forms at a right angle, which you guys know is 90 degrees. Okay? If you need to pause and write that, pause it, please. If I went a little bit too fast, please, please, please pause it, because this is very important. Okay? The base and the height of any figure always forms at a right angle. Okay, now we've talked about this in the past. Okay? If I had this, let's say I had this parallelogram. You guys all know what a parallelogram is, right? The two sides are parallel with each other and congruent. Okay? That's what a parallelogram is. But none of these angles are 90. And let me redraw that. I want to draw it better. Okay, I want to draw it a little bit better so you can really see it, because this is where this is going to throw you. Get ready for some crazy stuff here. How about that for artist work? Yep, I know it's perfect. Okay, so let's say I look at this parallelogram right here, and obviously, is this a 90-degree angle? No. Is this a 90? No. Is this a 90? No. If I gave you that this right here was 12 meters, and I gave you that this was 6 meters, and I asked you to find the area, could you? Absolutely not. You cannot find the area of this. You can't do it, because this is not the height. When you go to the doctor, and we've talked about this, you stand up real tall and you say, what's my height? You actually want to be measured straight up. When you stand on the ground, you are perpendicular with the ground. The word perpendicular means 90-degree angle, basically, forming at a 90-degree angle. And when you stand on the floor, you're standing at a 90-degree angle. I haven't checked. I don't know if this is true, but I'm pretty sure none of you probably get your height measured like this. On 1 foot, angled this way. You wouldn't say, oh, that's my height. That's not how tall you are. You have to take your body and you need to straighten up, because you need to make a 90-degree angle. Right now, you're at a much smaller angle than 90. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so you can't find the area. Not possible. Okay, you can't find the area here. Okay, can't do it. Now, if I gave you this, if I gave you that height, look what happened. Look where it formed. If this was, let's say it was 5 meters. Now we know the base and the height, because look, this dotted line forms right into the base. And right where the base and the height meet, there's a 90-degree angle. That's the height. Okay? That's the point. All right, we'll come back to this. Now, quick little review from 5th grade. I think you did this in 5th grade anyway. Classifying triangles. You can either classify triangles by angles, or you can classify triangles by sides. Okay, this one's by angles, this one's by sides. Okay, acute triangles have all acute angles, so acute angles being all less than 90. Okay, right triangles have one right angle, one 90-degree angle, and obtuse triangles have one obtuse angle, which is greater than 90. Greater than 90. We know that the sum of all the angles inside a triangle is 180. Okay, you can also classify by the side length. Scalene, they don't have any sides the same. Remember, congruent just means equal. So all the sides are different. An isosceles triangle is like an ice cream cone, or you have two eyes. You know that they have two sides that are the same. Congruent just means equal. And equilateral triangle, that means that all three sides of that triangle are exactly the same length. Let's go on to the next page. Okay. Find the area of each triangle. First of all, you have to see, am I given the base and the height? Yes, you are, because look where they meet. They meet right at a right angle. They meet right there. The base and the height. And yeah, I know the height's over here, but that's the same difference, right? It's going from right there to right there. That's what it's measuring. Okay? So you know that the area then, here's your formula, area equals 1/2 base times height. By the way, every time you do these on the worksheet, I expect to see this written. That doesn't mean you can write it one time real big up at the top of your paper. You have to write it every single time. And then you plug in. Area equals 1/2 is a constant, so it's always going to be there. It's not going to change. 1/2 times. And then what's the base? 10. What's the height? 14. Okay? And then you're ready to do your math. And again, you can kind of do these steps all at the same time. It's pretty easy. 1/2 times 10 just means half of 10. Remember, the word of in math means multiply. Half of 10 is 5. 5 times 14 then is 70 centimeters squared. Okay? So what that, or let me quickly recap this. You must have this label on there. I will be so picky about this. I will count off if you don't have a label on there. That is so important. Okay? You got to have it on there. You just can't put 70. That doesn't work anymore. Not going to fly. You just can't put 70 centimeters. Because it's not the length 70 centimeters. It's 70 centimeters cubed. Or I'm sorry, squared. So what that means is that when you have a square, it's saying that this square is 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. That's how many of those things right there, each one has an area of 1 square centimeter. So what it's saying is that there are 70 of those things that would fit in that space. Okay? 70 of them. That's what it means. Okay? Here, a little bit different of a thing. I mean, this is where it gets maybe a little bit tricky, because it's like, man, is that meeting? But it's measuring from there to there. It's still meeting at the base. So yes, that is your base and height. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about the work here. 1/2 times 30, that's your base, times 25. Notice 375 feet squared, that means this, right? That means that there would be 375 of those that would fit in that triangle. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Okay, complete to find the base and the height. Now, again, realistically, you could count these, but it's very hard to count these pieces, so you're not going to want to do it that way. We're going to figure out the base and the height. You look for the right angle. So this is your base, this is your height. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units by 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. By 8 units. Okay. Your formula, which has to be written every single time, is 1/2 BH. And you know that the area equals 1/2 times 5 times 8. And you could type that into your calculator as one step. I'm fine with that. Okay. You could do just 1 ABC2 times 5 times 7. You're going to end up getting, oops, I'm sorry, 7. Why did I got 7? It's supposed to be 8. Okay. You're going to end up getting 20. And then since there's no units here, you're going to want to do units. You can write the word units squared like that. You could write square units, or I would accept UN squared. I'll accept that too. Okay, but this is the best one. Okay, this one here, a little bit weird looking, to be honest. I mean, it's kind of funky looking, really. But you got to figure out where the right angle is, and it's meeting right there. So this is your height. This is your base. Now, obviously, this is where maybe some confusion might kick in. When I'm counting my base, do I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Do I keep going up here? No. This is just, it could show it like this, right? It could show it to there and then over, right? It's just all about meeting at a right angle. So this is just pushing it way back. Your base does not count all of these. That's not part of the triangle. This is your part of the triangle, and it's got a base of 3. It has a height of 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you do area equals 1/2 BH. Area equals 1/2 times 4 times 3. And by the way, in case you all are wondering, it doesn't matter whether the base comes first or the height comes first. Realistically, you could make the argument that this is the base, which is also 4. Okay, it doesn't matter. The answer is going to be 6 units squared. Okay. 2.1 and 1.8, you know, there's your base and your height. So you do area equals 1/2 the base times the height. Area equals 1/2 times 2.1 times 1.8. Okay. I have to get my calculator out for this one. I don't know that off the top of my head. Okay. And it's going to be, I'm going to use 0.5 for 1/2. 2.1 times 1.8, and you're going to get 1.89. It's centimeters squared. Very important. Now, real quick, let me show you where the square is here, or where the rectangle is. Remember, I told you that every triangle can be put back. You can be made into a rectangle, right? There it is. And there's your 2 rectangles. And basically what I'm showing you is what I have in red there, that part. This, we know that in green, actually, it has an area of 1.89 centimeters squared. And what I know is that everything that's in white, that's inside the dotted line, this and this, if I found those 2 areas, they would add together to become 1.89. I know that every triangle is just half of the rectangle that it could create. Okay? And, you know, I could figure that out pretty quick, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay? Same deal here. Actually, you know what? You guys go ahead and try this one. Pause and try it. Area equals 1/2 base and times height. Area equals 1/2 times 2.7 times 3.4. Again, I'll get my calculator, and I know that I can use 0.5 for 1/2. 0.5 times 2.7. Oops. 2.7 times 3.4. There you go. 4.59 centimeters squared. Make sure your labels are on there. If I were going to make this into the shape that it really is, it would be right here. And it's not perfect, obviously, because I'm freehanding it, but you can see there it would be, and there it would be. And there's your rectangle. It's a rectangle with base of well, it doesn't matter. We're just going to go on. I'm not going to worry about that. Okay? Okay, now this is where it gets really hard. So I got enriched up here. Now this doesn't mean that you guys can just shut your brains off. You need to listen. It says that's supposed to say enriched. I don't know how an E turned into a 9, but it did. Now this is where you're given the area. Okay, and you're being asked to find a base or a height. Well, let me show you how to do this, because this goes right along with Learning Target 1, solving equations. This is where you're really going to get into stuff when you get into algebra, more so. you're still going to write your formula. 1/2 times your base times your height. And you're going to know two out of these three things. And what I mean by that is you could know the area, you could know the base, or you could know the height, but you're only going to have one unknown. Whereas in these ones here, the unknown was the A. We knew the B and H. Now we're going to know the A, if that makes sense. Okay, so it said the area of triangle FGH. And by the way, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, just to make sure. When they do that, like triangle FGH, they just give letter names to each vertice, which is just each when two sides come together of a polygon. So that would be point F, point G, and point H. And when they say triangle FGH, that's just how they talk about the whole side. So this, like right here, that would be considered side FG. This would be considered side GH, and so on. Okay? So just so you've heard that. Now we're going to plug in what we know. We know that the area of that is 46 square inches, so I'm going to put 46 in for A, because I know that's what I know, equals 1/2 is a constant, so I'm not going to ever change that. Now, do I know the base or do I know the height? Well, like I said, it really doesn't matter, because the base and height are really interchangeable. But when you guys think of the base, you immediately think of the bottom of something and what it's sitting on, and that's kind of what this is. So I'm going to put 11.5 times H. That's how I'm going to write it. Now you're going to do something that's kind of like combining like terms in a way. The only difference is we're not adding. Combining like terms was all adding. Okay, this is just called simplifying by, using the commutative property. Okay, so you're going to take that and you're going to simplify it. Okay, and what that means is you're actually going to do the problem. So let me clear that. I'm going to do 0.5 times 11.5. It's 5.75. Now remember, how do we show multiplication by a variable? Touching it, right? It's 46. And then, as you guys learned back when we did learning target number 1, now we just have to identify what we're doing to the variable. And then we're going to use inverse operations to solve. Remember, we solve equations. So we say, okay, what's happening right there? Well, it's being multiplied. H is being multiplied by 5.75. So remember, we have multiply. The inverse of multiply is divide. The inverse of adding is subtracting. Okay, so we need to divide this by 5.75. And essentially, you're doing 5.75 divided by 5.75, which gives us 1H, which we know we just write as H. Okay, remember, since this is an equal sign, whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other. You just can't do something over here and not the over here. So we're going to divide by 5.75. Okay, so now we're going to take our calculator out. Okay, and that's going to be 46 divided by 5.75, and I'm going to get 8. I know that my height of this thing is H. Should I stop there? Absolutely not. What should I do? Well, let's check. Let's find the area of this triangle. Let's make sure, why not check? I mean, some of you aren't very good at checking, and I don't really understand why. It's kind of frustrating to me. It kind of makes it seem like you don't care, don't want to be certain. And I say just check and be certain, please. So let's actually go back now like we're doing what was above or on the previous page. Let's find the new area, or the area, to make sure it is 46 indeed. So I know it's 11.5 times 8. Let's see what my area is. So again, I'm going to use 0.5 as 1/2. 0.5 times 11.5 times 8. 46. That's my area, which tells me, of course I need my inches squared on there. That's what it said it was going to be. Okay. Okay. I think that's enough for those. This one, real quick, this one would be the same way. We know the height now, or we know the base is 7. So it's the same type of thing. You're going to end up having, you're given the area, so it's going to be area equals 1/2 base times height. So you're given 35 equals 1/2 times 7 times H. You're going to do this part. You're actually going to do the multiplication. 3.5 H equals 35. Okay? And then again, you just do inverse operations. Divide by 3.5. Divide by 3.5. and that's going to be 35 divided by, I think it's 10, but just show you. 35 divided by 3.5 gives us 10. And now I know that this has to be 10. And then just make sure, double check yourself. Get your calculator out and find the area of that triangle, which you know is going to be 0.5 times 7 times 10. 35, which is what we said it would be up here. Okay, so it's not hard. It's not hard at all, I don't think. I think it's pretty easy, actually. It's just a matter of being able to do it, practice it, and get it. So, I think that's it. We'll see you.